be focused because you didn't want to make a mistake. And of course, in flight, a mistake could be fatal if you get a glove locked or you had a problem with getting outside and you fell off a ladder. So you had to be uh, focused on what you were doing, but it was a lot more excitement and just wonder than mission control.
Quindi non tanto tensione ma emozione e eccitazione, perché quando sono scesi loro sulla Luna era già stato fatto, bisogna essere concentrati, focalizzare bene la propria attenzione su quello che c'era da fare, perché se c'è un problema per esempio durante il volo, si sbagli qualche cosa, allora quello potrebbe essere difficile, ma per il resto era una anticipazione, un'emozione, l'attesa di sapere che cosa stai per fare, che di essere molto emozionati, ma non tanto tensione.
Quindi era tensione nella sala di controllo e emozione quando si era sulla Luna.
So it's tension when you were in the control room for Apollo 11.
Yeah, because
and excitement when you landed.
Right.
When you landed.
Yeah. Just in mission control, for the whole descent, we were having all these problems, and so it's man, are we really going to make it? And you start wondering about it. What's next? What can happen next? And so the tension in the whole mission control rose to a level where it got so quiet. I had never heard it that quiet. It was just there was just nothing moving. Nobody. We were not breathing. It seemed like. Of course, that's not true, but it didn't seem like we were breathing. And so we was very close to when we caused 30 seconds, I guess they were 20 feet off the ground. And if they'd have gotten to 60 seconds, Eagle abort, if I'd have said abort, it would have been, say again, Houston.
Yeah. No, too late.
Yeah, they're going to land.
Yeah.
They get 20, 30 feet off the moon, and they're going to land.
Sure.
Because the abort call was about 4% fuel, and so the idea was to throttle up to full power and start a climb away from the moon, and then once that happens, then the engine shuts down, fuel depletion, and then you abort stage and light the ascent engine. So there's 4 more percent, or I think it was 4 more percent fuel left when you called an abort.
Quindi quando in caso di allunaggio, quando lui ha chiamato i 30 secondi, because the translator translated his question as, were you afraid when you landed on the moon?
Oh.
Yeah, so not the same thing. So, sorted.
One question. Allora, quando lui era sulla Luna, ha avuto quei momenti che è caduto mentre installava una strumentazione e ha fatto diversi tentativi di rialzarsi.
Sì.
Che cosa ha provato in quel momento se vedeva che non riusciva a rialzarsi?
Okay. So when you were on the moon, you fell over several times, and sometimes it looked like you were struggling a lot to get back up. So his question was, what was going through your mind when you realized that you were having trouble getting back up again?
Well, we knew we'd practiced in the airplane.
Yeah.
We had 16G. We could fly 16G. And so we knew there was a possibility of falling down. So let's practice getting up. And so I knew it was going to take me about three push-ups to get up. And that's what we practiced, and that's the way it turned out. So,
Quindi loro avevano un aereo speciale che faceva delle traiettorie paraboliche in cui simulavano per 4 secondi la gravità lunare.
One crewman couldn't pass the suit check, the pressure check. They would stay inside, and one guy'd go out by yourself. So we wanted to make sure if we fell down backwards or forward, we could get up. And so we practiced both. The backwards fall was not easy to get up. You had I forgot exactly how but we roll back and forth, and you get on the side of a crater like this, a small one that was like this, and you get in, so you could, when you roll this way, you'd roll over into the crater, but you would not, didn't get out of the crater, but you wouldn't get in the deep crater.
Yeah.
But, so we practiced all of that, and when I fell over backwards doing the high jump, that was scary. But John was there to help me up. I didn't have to get up by myself. He was there.
C'era una possibilità durante uno dei
We were 6 hours behind schedule due to some problems. And, so the landing is so dynamic. You're coming into an area where your photographs, the smallest object you can see in this photograph is 15 meters diameter. There's a lot of holes on the moon less than 15 meters, and so as you start coming in, you start seeing these craters that you had not seen before, so you had to start maneuvering around, and you also, a lot of the slopes were not visible. So it made the landing very dynamic, and so we were very focused on, John was on picking the right landing spot. And my job was to basically talk him down and give him all the information that he needed to make a successful landing. So it was, the landing had to be the most exciting spot. Of course, liftoff at Earth and liftoff from the moon and re-entry is all exciting. Anytime you do a dynamic event like that in spaceflight, it's always a very exciting moment.
Sicuramente una delle fasi più emozionanti è stato la Why did you decide to quit space program or leave the space program?
I worked on, after Apollo was over, and I was assigned to Space Shuttle in January 1973. And I worked in Space Shuttle for about 3 years, but it just wasn't, at then, it wasn't as dynamic as Apollo, you know. We had weekly meetings with the manager of the Apollo program, and you say, George, we got to fix this. It was fixed. If you could convince him, it was fixed, or they started to fix it. Whereas the shuttle, well, I don't know, and then we'll just think about having a meeting next month. Have another meeting, and then have another meeting, and have another meeting. And we were arguing about the brakes. We were arguing about the drag chute. We were arguing, I mean, just, and finally I said, this is it. I'm quitting. I look back now, and I wish I'd have stayed another 5 years and flown one of the first test flights on the shuttle. And I would have probably gotten, I might have even flown with John. I doubt it, because those earlier flights, they were giving people with experience, you know, one experienced crewman and one inexperienced. So maybe in the first 5 flights, which were the test flights, I would have commanded one of those. But I didn't. I left, and so.
Costanza rispetto a tanti altri, è stata una gara di eliminazione.
So, do you think John Young was simply more patient than everyone else?
Well, he stayed for another till 1995. Yeah, I mean, 44 years as an astronaut. So he just that's what his focus was. The astronaut
Sì, lui è rimasto nel programma spaziale per 44 anni, fino al 1995, quindi sì, il suo cuore era lì.
May I ask a
He
question?
had more corporate knowledge of the operation of NASA, and especially the operations center, than anybody. And so he was well respected, and was very knowledgeable, very low key, if you will, but he probably had the best engineering mind I have ever worked with. He was really sharp. He was a fantastic engineer. But he came across like, he just sort of wandered into a meeting, and well, I'm gonna put one over on this guy. He's no hayseed, but I mean, you couldn't stump him. He knew it all.
In caso di John Young sì, lui ha avuto...
John, he was not. I talked to him about it. It's been about a year and a half since we visited, but they're private. And Susie, his wife, said we've retired, and so I called him either the physical last November, and I called him and said I'd like to come by. And he said, "Well, call tomorrow. John's sick," so he called tomorrow and said he's got a fever, feeling right. So he's still alert physically, but he just body's tired, so he's not traveling.
Sta abbastanza bene, si sentono per telefono con la moglie in particolare, però non è più... Aldrin is everywhere these days. Do you think he still hasn't recovered from the idea that he was second man on the moon?
He doesn't think about the moon too much anymore. That's what gets him the invitations. But if you listen to him, all his lectures, he goes right into Mars.
Ma dice no, probabilmente non è quello, perché se vai a vedere anche le ragioni per cui lo invitano, non è tanto per parlare della Luna, ma per parlare di Marte. Lui comincia subito le sue conferenze dicendo andiamo verso Marte.
If the hatch on the lunar module had opened that way, he'd have been out first. But it opened this way. So you're trapped, the lunar module pilot's trapped behind the hatch. And that guy's got to get out first, unless you swap places. And Neil wasn't going to swap places. I wouldn't have swapped places.
Yeah.
How was the pardon?
Perché sul modulo lunare il portello si apre in questo senso, quindi il pilota del modulo lunare, quindi Buzz Aldrin per Apollo 11, è incastrato dietro il portello, non può uscire per primo, deve uscire prima quell'altro. Quindi se si fosse aperto per l'altro verso, sicuramente Aldrin sarebbe sceso per primo e via. Detto, anche lui nella stessa situazione avrebbe fatto la stessa cosa, comunque se si apre dalla mia parte scendo prima io, senz'altro.
Pardon. How was dealing with moon dust? Annoying, a real problem?
We tracked a lot in. It was a problem out on the surface because it was so fine. It stick to your suit, and you couldn't brush it off. So if you look at the pictures from the first hour on the moon to the last hour on the moon, they turned from white to gray. And one of the problems we had, we lost a fender, like the second EVA, I guess it was. And so it was driving the rear wheel, the dust was just flying down, landing all over us. And so we got really bad. So we tracked a lot of dust inside, but it wasn't a problem until we got back in orbit. And then once you got back in orbit, it just
everywhere.
Lunar module filled up with dust. And so we stayed in our enclosed environmental system because John was afraid if we were supposed to take suits and gloves off. Not suits, but gloves and helmet off. But if it would have clogged up the environmental control system, we'd have been in deep trouble. So
For the filters.
We stayed up, and when we docked and captured, manually took all the stuff out, and he looks in and all this lunar dust, everybody, he says, "You're not coming in here." And we had a little vacuum cleaner, so he floated it over to us, and so we vacuumed all this dust up best we could, and then he let us come in.
Thank you.
Sì, traduco la domanda e la risposta.
It brushed in as more as it got off, so the suits just turn gray.
E avevamo una spazzola che per un po' di teoria ci doveva permettere di pulirci, però non funzionava, praticamente non faceva altro che spargere la polvere che avevamo addosso, per cui diventavamo tutti grigi.
Poteva essere pericoloso per i contatti.
What you were really concerned about was the connectors and the rings to lock your gloves in. So when we got back inside, we unsuit and we couldn't get the dust off, but we could clear the rings out, and we wiped those all off, and the rings around the suit and all the connectors. We got those as clean as possible, and then we recharged the backpack with new battery, more cooling water, more oxygen, and all of that stuff. We got it ready to go for the next day.
Quindi ecco, non potevamo pulirci bene, però moon dust be dangerous if inhaled in 0G?
Not right away, probably, but I think you probably have some reaction, if you breathe enough of it. When you, like coal dust, you get some lasting effects after that, some probably lung cancer. But nobody did, and so the idea now with the future moon missions, if there are, is to have an airlock. So you leave your suit and everything out there, so you don't track all that stuff back into your habitation module, and that's really the way to go, I think, with airlocks, so you don't get this dust and all stuff back in where you're living.
Sì, probabilmente a breve termine non avrebbe. So you could clean yourself there.
No, not really, because it was just weight that, it wasn't going to hurt us until we got back in orbit, and so you didn't want to have that 2-pound vacuum cleaner to carry it down and back up. You'd rather have 2 pounds of fuel.
Dice no, non ci hanno pensato, cioè, è stata fatta la valutazione perché in realtà la polvere diventa un problema quando torni in orbita, quindi portare giù sulla Luna e portare su un aspirapolvere significava avere quel chilo in più di zavorra, che dice preferisco avere un chilo in meno di aspirapolvere e un chilo in più di propellente.
We had a lot of problem with the lunar module being overweight, and so we'd have these meetings. What can we throw off to save weight? And in the earlier missions, they had like a 30-meter rescue rope. If you fell into the crater, the guy could throw this rope in and pull you out. We even threw that off. So if you fell in, you were on your own.
Goodbye. No, diceva che era davanti a te.
Well, if you bend over, of course you could see your feet.
Se ti chini
But
puoi vedere
it
i
was
piedi.
it was hard to keep your balance. You get your CG24, you're gonna fall forward.
Però è difficile inclinarsi in avanti perché altrimenti il centro di gravità si sposta troppo in avanti e cadi.
Senti, l'odore della Luna è come quello della polvere da sparo. Per quanto tempo l'hanno avvertito ancora nell'astronave e poi se a distanza di anni anche oggi sente ancora quello che
Sono
prevede?
andati sulla Luna. They never went on the moon. It's a fake.
All done by Stanley Kubrick.
This question is about the smell of the moon. There's reports that the smell of the moon is like gunpowder.
That's right. Yeah.
So did you smell it? And
Yeah.
how long did that smell remain? Did you ever smell it again?
The only time it smelled like gunpowder is if you got it on your fingers, and the moon was so dry that it would absorb the oils in your skin, and then when you did that, then you smelled it's gunpowder. But if you just picked up some in a glove and you smell it, it wasn't that. It's something to do with the oils in the human oils that we have on your skin that absorbs the lunar dust absorbs it, gives you that gunpowder. But there's no organic material on the moon, so it can't be. It's just a false smell because it can't be gunpowder.
L'odore probabilmente deriva non Does it ever happen to you to smell that smell again somewhere and it comes to your mind again? Oh, this is the smell of the moon.
I'm a hunter, yeah,
Sono un cacciatore, quindi sì.
and so when I shotgun a rifle and I smell after you fire a round, you eject a bolt, you get some of that odor. Yeah, so it brings back.
Quindi mi capita per esempio con il fucile, quando espello la cartuccia, si how much was the trajectory controlled by computer and how much was it controlled by the pilot?
It could be all computer like ours was, or it could be all manual. If your computer, if you, let me see, we had a system called the entry management system, and if you watch, as you came in, if you watch the track across that ideal trajectory, if it started to deviate, manually could take over and fly like an airplane, like an instrument landing system. The same way it was had a set of needles, and you could and just center the needles, and you could it would and the computer, if you trusted the computer. If the computer went out, you just roll and go in like a bullet. It's called ballistic, and you were going to re-enter, but you didn't know where. It would be way off, but you'd come in.
You'd be rolling on the z-axis, a spin,
Yeah, the Z-axis.
not tumbling.
No, it was Z-axis.
Okay,
Yeah, and
yeah.
you would just roll.
Right.
Well, actually, it was a.
Sorry, translating everything for Charlie. Did you get something to eat at least,
no,
or
I'm
you
fine.
just talking?
I got some.
And it's still full.
No, it's my second glass.
Okay.
He's a
Thanks
stealth.
to Bob.
So you need to take something to eat.
No.
No?
You drink
So,
our
And you too. You didn't.
let's see. In the lunar module, X was forward, so you rolled around.
Yeah,
Okay. And that was the same in the command module.
Okay.
And you rolled around.
Right.
It. Okay. X was up, I think. And so it was a rolling maneuver. And the most critical part of reentry in Apollo was the escape. You hit the atmosphere with lift vector up. We didn't have wings like a shuttle, but we had lift. The center of gravity was offset from the center of the heat shield. So as you came in with lift vector up, and as it hit the atmosphere, it wanted to come back out again. And if you allowed that to happen, you were gone.
Yep.
And that was called skip out. And so as it went in like this, I was timing it manually based on what mission control had told us. And when it hit that point, I was going to give it 2 seconds, and so I called 1, and by the time I called 1, it started automatically, and it rolled you over, and in the airplane it's called a split S. You just turn over upside down and come in like that. And so that's what and once you got in that position, you started back in, then you got below a certain velocity, and then you started rolling back and forth to control the landing spot.
Si poteva fare. You've been 250,000 miles away, 400,000 kilometers to the moon. When you look at today's space program and see that current astronauts are only flying a few hundred kilometers away from the Earth's surface, what do you think? Is it more a question of seeing it as the glass is half full or half empty? Are you happy with the way things are? It could be worse.
I haven't been happy, but I'm more optimistic now. We have, I think, a change of administration that's more interested in space. The commercial side of it, SpaceX and ATK Orbital and others are doing a tremendous job. NASA's committed to deep space again with Orion and the new Space Launch System. So I think with this new direction and Trump is really he's really been speaking positively about the space program. And whether it's the follow-up or not of that is the question. But I think, I mean, I saw Bob Cabana, who heads the Kennedy Space Center. He said, we've never been busier. So everything's really picking up, and with Blue Origin, building a huge manufacturing facility right outside the gates of Kennedy Space Center. And Elon Musk has rented the pad. We lifted off 39A. NASA's rented that pad to them, and they built.
Which company do you think is going to win?
I think probably SpaceX. They've got a real dynamic organization, but Blue Origin's coming on real fast.
Yes, we need to. Sorry to interrupt. We need to go